the biggest historical unsolved enigmas. Experts can't explain the past whispers to us through fragments, broken pottery, faded manuscripts, and mysteries that time refuses to solve. While we've mapped the ocean floor and sent probes to distant planets, there remain puzzles from our own history that continue to baffle experts, defy explanation, and challenge everything we think we know about human civilization. These aren't just unsolved cases. They're enigmas that seem to mock our modern understanding, suggesting that perhaps our ancestors knew things we've forgotten, or that forces beyond our comprehension have shaped the course of human events. Today, we're diving into some of the most perplexing historical mysteries that continue to stump researchers, archaeologists, and historians worldwide. These are the cases that make experts throw up their hands in frustration, the puzzles that generate more questions than answers, and the enigmas that remind us how much we still don't know about our own past. Let's begin with a discovery that shouldn't exist, a machine so advanced it seems to have fallen through time itself. In the spring of 1900, sponge divers working off the Greek island of Antikythera made a discovery that would challenge everything historians thought they knew about ancient technology. What started as a routine dive for valuable sea sponges turned into one of archaeology's most mind-bending mysteries when diver Elias Stadiatos surfaced with tales of bronze limbs and marble statues scattered across the seafloor. The site was the wreck of an ancient Roman cargo ship, dating to around 70 to 60 BCE, loaded with luxury items and artistic treasures. But among the corroded bronze sculptures and amphorae lay something that didn't belong, a small, unremarkable lump of bronze and wood, heavily encrusted with marine growth. For months, this artifact sat in storage, ignored and forgotten. When researchers finally examined it closely, they discovered something that would rewrite the history of technology. Intricate bronze gears, dozens of them, arranged with mathematical precision. This was the Antikythera Mechanism, and it shouldn't have existed for another 1,000 years. The device, roughly the size of a large book, contained at least 37 meshing bronze gears of extraordinary sophistication. When researchers used advanced X-ray tomography to peer inside without damaging the fragile bronze, they found a machine of staggering complexity. The mechanism could predict the positions of the sun, moon, and planets with remarkable accuracy. It tracked lunar phases, modeled eclipses, and even compensated for the moon's elliptical orbit using a pin and slot mechanism that mimicked its variable speed across the sky. The level of craftsmanship is astounding. The gear teeth were cut by hand to tolerances that rival modern clockwork. Inscriptions across the device's surfaces contained instructions, astronomical data, and references to athletic games held in specific Greek cities. The mechanism incorporated the 19-year Metonic cycle, the 76-year Callipic cycle, and the 18-year Saros cycle for predicting eclipses. Mathematical concepts that demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics. But here's what makes this discovery so unsettling. According to everything we thought we knew about ancient technology, devices this complex didn't appear until the development of astronomical clocks in medieval Europe, more than a millennium later. The Antikythera Mechanism is like finding a laptop computer in a medieval monastery. It simply doesn't fit our timeline of technological progress. Who built this extraordinary device? The leading theory points to the Greek island of Rhodes, famous for its school of astronomy and mechanical engineering. Some scholars suggest it might be connected to Hipparchus, the brilliant 2nd century BCE astronomer who discovered the precession of the equinoxes and created the first known star catalogue. The mathematical models encoded in the mechanism's gears align remarkably well with Hipparchus's known theories about celestial motion. But perhaps the most disturbing implication of the Antikythera Mechanism isn't what it tells us about ancient Greek engineering. It's what it suggests about everything we've lost. Devices this sophisticated are rarely one-offs. They represent the culmination of long traditions of knowledge and craftsmanship. If the Greeks could build this machine in the 1st century BCE, what other technologies did they possess? What libraries of knowledge were lost when Alexandria burned? What mechanical marvels were swept away by the rise and fall of empires? The mechanism forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth about history. Progress isn't always linear. Sometimes civilizations achieve extraordinary heights of knowledge only to see that wisdom vanish, leaving behind nothing but mysterious artifacts that seem impossible for their time. The Antikythera Mechanism is a bronze testament to human ingenuity, but it's also a reminder of how much we may have forgotten. Recent expeditions have returned to the shipwreck site, and each dive brings new fragments to light. In 2012, archaeologists discovered additional pieces of the mechanism, suggesting the original device may have been even larger and more complex than previously thought. But many questions remain unanswered. How many similar devices existed? Were they common among educated Greeks? Or was this a unique creation? And perhaps most importantly, what other technologies from the ancient world are we missing? The Antikythera Mechanism stands as one of history's greatest enigmas, a bronze ghost from a lost age of mechanical genius. It whispers of knowledge systems so advanced they seem almost alien, hidden in the folds of our past like secrets, waiting to be rediscovered. Every gear tells a story of human ambition, reaching toward the stars, using bronze and mathematical brilliance to capture the dance of the heavens in a device no bigger than a book. And yet, for all our modern understanding, for all our advanced imaging technology and computer modeling, we still can't fully explain how the ancient Greeks achieved what they did with this extraordinary machine. It remains what it has always been: a mystery wrapped in bronze, a question posed by the past that we're still struggling to answer. The story of the Antikythera Mechanism reminds us that history is full of surprises, and that sometimes the most profound mysteries aren't hidden in distant galaxies or deep ocean trenches. They're lying right beneath our feet, waiting to challenge everything we think we know about human achievement and the limits of ancient knowledge. In a world where we pride ourselves on technological advancement, this ancient computer serves as a humbling reminder that genius has no expiration date, and that the past may hold secrets that could revolutionize our understanding of what's possible. What other mechanical marvels are still buried beneath the waves, in forgotten tombs, or in museum storage rooms, waiting for someone to recognize their true significance? The Antikythera Mechanism suggests that the answer might be more than we ever dared imagine. The ancient waters of the Mediterranean hold many secrets, but few are as profound as what was discovered off a small Greek island over a century ago. Today, we continue our exploration of history's greatest unsolved enigmas, diving deeper into mysteries that have confounded experts for generations. This is part one of our investigation into the puzzles that still haunt the corridors of academia and challenge everything we thought we knew about human achievement. From the previous chapter, we learned about the Antikythera Mechanism, that impossible bronze computer from ancient Greece that revealed technological sophistication far beyond what we believed possible for its time. But that discovery was just the beginning. As we peel back the layers of history, we find that our ancestors may have possessed knowledge and capabilities that dwarf our modern understanding. The mechanism wasn't an anomaly. It was a glimpse into a lost world of innovation. Consider this. If a single shipwreck could yield such revolutionary evidence of ancient Greek engineering, what else lies hidden beneath the waves? What other technologies? What other achievements? What other impossible artifacts are waiting to be discovered? The Mediterranean alone has claimed thousands of vessels over the millennia, each one a potential time capsule carrying secrets from civilizations we've barely begun to understand. The Antikythera discovery forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth about historical progress. We've long assumed that technological advancement follows a linear path, that each generation builds systematically upon the last. But what if that assumption is fundamentally flawed? What if history is not a steady climb toward enlightenment, but rather a series of peaks and valleys, with knowledge gained and lost in cycles we're only now beginning to comprehend? The mechanism's creator, possibly the great astronomer Hipparchus, worked within a tradition of learning that stretched back centuries. The device encoded complex astronomical cycles known to Babylonian scholars, incorporated Greek mathematical principles, and demonstrated a level of precision engineering that wouldn't be seen again until the Renaissance. This wasn't just individual genius. This was the culmination of an entire scientific tradition that somehow vanished from the historical record. Archaeological evidence suggests that sophisticated workshops once existed throughout the Hellenistic world, places where master craftsmen created devices we can barely imagine. The Antikythera Mechanism likely wasn't unique. It was probably one of many such instruments, perhaps even a common tool among educated elites of the ancient world. But if that's true, where are the others? Where are the instruction manuals, the workshop records, the apprentice pieces that should have survived? The answer may lie in the fragility of knowledge itself. Civilizations rise and fall, libraries burn, and traditions die with their practitioners. The great library of Alexandria, symbol of ancient learning, was gradually dismantled over centuries. The Gothic invasions, the rise of Christianity, the collapse of trade networks, all contributed to what historians call the loss of classical knowledge. But perhaps we've underestimated just how much was lost. Recent discoveries have begun to paint a picture of the ancient world that's far more sophisticated than we previously imagined. Roman concrete that self-heals after centuries underwater. Greek fire that burned on water and whose formula remains unknown. Damascus steel, whose manufacturing secrets died with its makers. These aren't isolated examples. They're part of a pattern suggesting that our ancestors possessed technologies we've struggled to replicate even with modern tools. The implications are staggering. If ancient Greeks could build mechanical computers, what else could they build? Did they have steam engines? Optical instruments? Chemical processes we've forgotten? The Romans had glass windows, central heating, and concrete domes that still stand today. The Egyptians moved massive stone blocks with precision that modern engineers struggle to explain. The Babylonians tracked celestial motions with accuracy that rivals our modern observations. But perhaps the most unsettling possibility is that we're still discovering these lost technologies by accident. The Antikythera Mechanism lay on the seafloor for over 2,000 years before divers stumbled upon it. How many other impossible artifacts remain buried in archaeological sites that haven't been properly excavated? How many crucial texts molded away in forgotten archives? How many technological traditions died out before they could be recorded? Modern archaeology has revealed that our timeline of human achievement may be fundamentally wrong. We found evidence of sophisticated metalworking thousands of years earlier than previously thought. We've discovered astronomical observatories that predate written history. We've uncovered trading networks that spanned continents before the rise of any known empire. Each discovery pushes back the boundaries of what we thought possible for ancient peoples. The Antikythera Mechanism stands as perhaps the most dramatic example of this historical revisionism. Here was a device that incorporated gear trains, differential gears, and epicyclic gearing, technologies that wouldn't appear again in European clockwork until the 14th century. Its bronze gears were cut with such precision that they could have come from a modern machine shop. Its calculations were so accurate that they could predict eclipses decades in advance. Yet this remarkable instrument was created in an age we've traditionally characterized as primitive, a time when people supposedly believed the Earth was flat and the stars were holes poked in the celestial sphere. The mechanism proves that at least some ancient Greeks had a sophisticated understanding of planetary motions, mathematical relationships, and mechanical engineering. They knew the Earth was round, they understood the precession of the equinoxes, and they could predict astronomical events with startling accuracy. This knowledge didn't emerge in a vacuum. It was built upon centuries of observation, calculation, and refinement. It required a community of scholars, craftsmen, and patrons working together across generations. It demanded resources, tools, and institutional support. In other words, it represented the pinnacle of an entire civilization's scientific achievement, a civilization whose capabilities we're only now beginning to appreciate. The question that haunts researchers is whether the Antikythera mechanism represents the exception or the rule. Was it a unique masterpiece created by a singular genius, or was it simply one example of a broader technological tradition that we've lost? The fact that it was found on a merchant ship suggests it wasn't a one-of-a-kind treasure. It was valuable enough to transport and trade, implying that such devices had a market among the wealthy elite. If similar mechanisms existed throughout the ancient world, their disappearance becomes even more mysterious. Bronze is a durable material, but it's also valuable and recyclable. Ancient artifacts were often melted down and reused, especially during times of economic hardship or political upheaval. The gears and plates that once calculated the movements of planets may have been transformed into coins, weapons, or everyday tools, their original purpose forgotten. But the knowledge behind these devices was even more fragile than the bronze from which they were made. In an age before printing, scientific knowledge was transmitted through personal instruction, hand-copied manuscripts, and oral tradition. When workshops closed, when scholars died without students, when libraries were destroyed, entire fields of knowledge could vanish overnight. The loss wasn't just technological, it was intellectual, conceptual, fundamental. The rediscovery of the Antikythera mechanism has forced historians to reconsider not just ancient Greek capabilities, but the entire narrative of human progress. We can no longer assume that technological advancement has been steady or inevitable. We can no longer take for granted that each generation builds systematically upon the last. Instead, we must acknowledge that human knowledge is fragile, that civilizations can reach extraordinary heights before falling into darkness, and that we may still be rediscovering wisdom that our ancestors took for granted. This revelation has profound implications for how we understand our own place in history. Are we the pinnacle of human achievement, or are we still climbing back toward heights that were reached and lost long ago? Are our modern technologies unprecedented, or are we simply rediscovering principles that ancient engineers mastered with different materials and methods? The Antikythera mechanism suggests that human ingenuity has always been capable of extraordinary things. We've simply forgotten how much our ancestors actually achieved. As we continue to explore the mysteries of the past, we're forced to confront the possibility that history is not a story of steady progress from ignorance to enlightenment. Instead, it may be a cycle of achievement and loss, discovery and forgetting, wisdom gained and wisdom squandered. The ancient Greeks who built the Antikythera mechanism possessed knowledge that took us centuries to rediscover. What else did they know that we've forgotten? What other impossible achievements lie waiting to be uncovered in the ruins of civilizations we've underestimated? The mechanism stands as a bronze testament to human potential, a reminder that our ancestors were capable of wonders we're only beginning to understand. It challenges our assumptions about the past and forces us to question what we think we know about the trajectory of human knowledge. In its corroded gears and calculated predictions, we glimpse not just ancient Greek astronomy, but the profound depths of human capability that transcend any single era or civilization. The story of the Antikythera mechanism is ultimately the story of rediscovery, not just of an ancient artifact, but of respect for the intellectual achievements of our ancestors. It reminds us that genius is not the exclusive province of any age, that innovation has always driven human progress, and that the past may hold keys to understanding our present and future in ways we never imagined. As we stand on the shoulders of giants, we're finally beginning to appreciate just how tall those giants really were. Yet even as we marvel at the bronze gears of the Antikythera device, another question emerges from the depths of our past. Because the ocean doesn't only preserve machines, sometimes it preserves secrets. Sometimes it preserves entire worlds that were never meant to disappear. And sometimes it gives us glimpses of civilizations so advanced, so sophisticated, that they challenge everything we thought we knew about the march of human progress. In the summer of 1985, a team of marine archaeologists working off the coast of Japan made a discovery that would haunt the scientific community for decades. They weren't looking for anything in particular, just conducting routine surveys of the seafloor near Yonaguni Island when their sonar picked up something impossible. Massive stone structures, perfectly geometric, rising from the ocean floor like monuments to a forgotten age. At first, the researchers assumed they were looking at natural rock formations. The sea, after all, is a master sculptor, capable of carving stone into seemingly impossible shapes through millennia of patient erosion. But as they descended to investigate, what they found defied every natural explanation they could conceive. These weren't random formations. They were terraces, carved with mathematical precision, staircases that descended into the depths with steps so uniform they could have been cut yesterday, pillars standing in perfect rows, walls meeting at exact right angles, and perhaps most unsettling of all, symbols etched into the stone that looked almost like writing, worn smooth by centuries of current, but still visible to those who knew how to look. The Yonaguni monument, as it came to be called, stretched over 500 feet in length and rose nearly 80 feet from the seafloor. Its surfaces were covered in terraces, ramps, and what appeared to be ceremonial platforms. Some sections looked like amphitheaters, others resembled temple complexes, and throughout it all, that same mathematical precision that spoke not of natural processes, but of intelligent design. Dr. Masaki Kimura, a marine geologist from the University of the Ryukyus, spent decades studying the monument. He documented tool marks on the stone, evidence of deliberate cutting and shaping. He found what appeared to be drainage channels, too regular and purposeful to be natural. And in the deeper sections, he discovered chambers and passageways that seemed designed for human use, though by the time he found them, they had been underwater for thousands of years. The age of the monument became the central mystery. If these structures were indeed artificial, when were they built? Sea level data suggested that this area had been above water during the last ice age, roughly 12,000 years ago. But 12,000 years ago, according to conventional archaeology, human civilization was still in its infancy. We were hunter-gatherers, living in small nomadic bands, barely beginning to experiment with agriculture. The idea that we could have built massive stone monuments with such precision seemed impossible, yet the evidence was there, carved in stone and preserved by the sea. And Yonaguni was not alone. Similar structures began to be discovered off the coasts of India, Lebanon, and Cuba, each one displaying the same impossible combination of great age and sophisticated construction, each one challenging our understanding of what ancient humans were capable of achieving. The Dwarka ruins off the coast of India presented perhaps the most compelling case. Here, underwater archaeologists found the remains of what appeared to be an entire city, complete with walls, streets, and what looked like harbour facilities. The construction techniques were advanced, using massive stone blocks fitted together with a precision that rivals modern engineering. Carbon dating of artifacts found at the site suggested an age of over 9,000 years, placing it firmly in the period when human civilization was supposed to be limited to simple farming communities. In Lebanon, divers discovered megalithic structures off the coast of Baalbek, some containing blocks weighing over 100 tons. The precision of their placement underwater defied explanation. How had ancient peoples moved such massive stones? How had they achieved such perfect alignment? And perhaps most puzzling of all, how had these structures ended up beneath the waves? The discovery off the coast of Cuba in 2001 added another layer to the mystery. Deep-sea sonar revealed what appeared to be a vast complex of structures nearly 2,000 feet below the surface. The formations included pyramids, circular structures, and what looked like roads connecting different areas of the complex. The depth alone made this discovery extraordinary. For structures to be that deep, they would have had to be submerged for an incredibly long time, possibly tens of thousands of years. Each new discovery forced archaeologists to confront uncomfortable questions about the timeline of human civilization. Were these structures evidence of a lost chapter in our history? Had there been advanced civilizations thousands of years before the rise of Mesopotamia and Egypt? And if so, what had happened to them? The answer, many researchers began to suspect, lay in one of the most dramatic events in Earth's recent geological history, the end of the last ice age. Around 12,000 years ago, the planet underwent a period of rapid climate change. Massive ice sheets that had covered much of North America and Europe began to melt, causing sea levels to rise by over 400 feet. Entire continents of habitable land were swallowed by the advancing waters. For any civilizations that had developed along ancient coastlines, this would have been a catastrophe beyond imagination. Cities, temples, harbors, and agricultural areas would have been submerged in a matter of centuries. The survivors would have been forced to flee inland, leaving behind everything they had built. Their knowledge, their technology, their entire way of life would have been lost beneath the waves. This scenario began to gain support from an unexpected source: ancient flood myths. Nearly every culture on Earth has stories of a great deluge that destroyed an earlier world. The biblical account of Noah's flood, the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh, the Greek myth of Deucalion, the Hindu Puranas, Native American traditions, Aboriginal Australian Dreamtime stories, all describe a time when the waters rose and swept away the old world, leaving only a few survivors to rebuild civilization. For centuries, scholars had dismissed these stories as primitive attempts to explain natural disasters or as purely mythological tales. But the discovery of advanced underwater structures began to suggest a different interpretation. What if these flood myths were cultural memories of actual events? What if they were the last echoes of civilizations that had indeed been lost beneath the rising seas? The implications were staggering. If advanced civilizations had existed before the flood, then human history was far older and more complex than we had imagined. The sudden appearance of sophisticated cultures like those in Mesopotamia and Egypt might not represent the beginning of civilization, but rather its rebirth. The knowledge that seemed to emerge fully formed, complex mathematics, astronomy, engineering, writing systems, might actually be the remnants of much older traditions, preserved and passed down by the survivors of the deluge. This possibility found support in the archaeological record itself. Many of the earliest known civilizations displayed a curious characteristic. They seemed to begin at a remarkably advanced level, as if their founders already possessed sophisticated knowledge. The Sumerians, for instance, appeared to have a fully developed writing system, advanced mathematics, and complex governmental structures almost from the moment they entered the historical record. The builders of the Egyptian pyramids demonstrated mathematical and engineering knowledge that would not be seen again for thousands of years. Even more intriguing were the astronomical alignments found in ancient monuments around the world. The Great Pyramid of Giza, Stonehenge, Angkor Wat, and dozens of other sites all incorporated precise celestial observations into their design. But these alignments often corresponded not to the sky as it appeared when the monuments were supposedly built, but to much earlier periods, sometimes stretching back 10,000 years or more. Were these monuments built to commemorate astronomical events from a much more distant past? The answer might lie not just in the stones themselves, but in the water that surrounds them. Because the ocean, it seems, has been keeping our secrets far longer than we ever suspected. Each tide that washes over the Yonaguni monument, each current that flows through the drowned streets of Dwarka, carries with it the whispers of a world we lost. And perhaps, in some sense, we are still trying to find our way back to that world. The technological marvels we create today, the cities we build, the knowledge we accumulate. Perhaps it is all an unconscious attempt to reclaim what was taken from us by the rising waters of prehistory. The ocean remembers what we have forgotten. In its depths lie not just the physical remains of lost civilizations, but the memories of what humanity once achieved and then lost. And as we stand on the shores of our own technological age, looking out at the endless expanse of water, we might ask ourselves, what else lies beneath the waves, waiting to be discovered? What other chapters of our story have been written in stone and sealed beneath the sea? The Antikythera device taught us that the past is far stranger than we imagined. But the drowned monuments scattered across the ocean floor suggest something even more profound. That the story of human civilization is not a simple tale of gradual progress, but a complex narrative of rise and fall, of knowledge gained and lost, of worlds built and worlds destroyed. And somewhere in that story, preserved in bronze gears and carved stone, in flood myths and astronomical alignments, lies the truth about who we really are and where we truly came from. From the sunken remnants of lost civilizations, we now turn to perhaps the most profound question of all. What did our ancestors truly know? Because scattered across the ocean floor and buried beneath millennia of sediment lie artifacts that shouldn't exist, mechanisms so advanced, so precisely engineered, that they force us to reconsider everything we thought we understood about the capabilities of ancient minds. The story begins not with grand theories or sweeping claims, but with a simple accident. In 1901, sponge divers working the treacherous waters off the Greek island of Antikythera discovered something extraordinary lying among the marble statues and bronze artifacts of an ancient Roman shipwreck. At first, it appeared to be nothing more than a corroded lump of bronze and wood, unremarkable, easily overlooked. But when scholars finally examined it closely decades later, they found gears. Tiny, intricate, interlocking gears that revealed themselves to be part of the most sophisticated mechanical device ever recovered from the ancient world. This was the Antikythera Mechanism, and it would shatter our understanding of technological progress in ways that still reverberate today. X-ray analysis revealed over 30 bronze gears, some cut so finely they resembled the workings of an 18th century clockmaker. But this device wasn't from the 1700s. It was over 2,000 years old, crafted by hands that lived when the Roman Republic was young and the Library of Alexandria still burned bright with knowledge. What makes the mechanism so unsettling isn't just its complexity, but what it could do. This ancient computer could predict the motion of the sun, moon, and planets with startling accuracy. It tracked lunar phases, modeled eclipses, and even compensated for the moon's elliptical orbit using a pin and slot mechanism that wouldn't be reinvented until the modern era. Inscribed across its surfaces were tiny Greek letters, instructions, calendars, references to astronomical cycles that demonstrated a mathematical sophistication we never imagined the ancients possessed. The implications are staggering. If such technology existed in 100 BCE, what else have we lost? The mechanism wasn't created in isolation. Devices this complex are never one-offs. They represent the culmination of generations of accumulated knowledge, suggesting an entire tradition of precision engineering that has vanished almost without trace. Recent discoveries of additional fragments hint that the original device may have been even larger, more complex than we initially realized. But the Antikythera mechanism is only the beginning. Because if our ancestors could create such marvels on land, what might they have achieved at sea? The answer may lie not in museums or textbooks, but in the deepest places on Earth, where crushing pressure and eternal darkness preserve secrets that time itself has forgotten. Beneath the waves, a different kind of mystery awaits, not the remnants of individual genius, but evidence of entire civilizations that may have mastered technologies we're only beginning to understand. From the coast of Japan to the waters off India, divers and sonar operators have discovered massive stone structures resting on the ocean floor, their origins lost to rising seas and the relentless passage of millennia. The Yonaguni Monument, submerged off the coast of Japan, presents terraces, steps, and right angles that seem too precise for natural formation. Near the Indian coast, sonar has revealed what appear to be the ruins of vast cities, complete with walls, foundations, and geometric patterns that speak of deliberate construction. In the Caribbean, researchers have identified underwater formations so regular, so architectural in their precision, that they challenge everything we thought we knew about when and where advanced civilizations first emerged. These discoveries force us to confront an uncomfortable truth. The ocean floor may be humanity's greatest archaeological site, holding evidence of achievements that predate our earliest written records. If these structures are indeed artificial, and the evidence grows more compelling with each expedition, then we must accept that human civilization is far older and far more sophisticated than our histories suggest. The pattern becomes even more intriguing when we consider the global nature of these flood myths. Nearly every ancient culture tells stories of a great deluge that destroyed advanced civilizations, forcing survivors to begin again from nothing. The biblical flood, the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh, Hindu tales of cosmic destruction and renewal, all describe worlds swept away by rising waters, taking with them technologies and knowledge that would not be rediscovered for millennia. What if these weren't just myths? What if they were memories, cultural recollections of real catastrophes that claimed real civilizations? The end of the last ice age brought dramatic sea level changes, transforming coastlines and submerging vast areas that had been dry land for thousands of years. If advanced societies had developed along these ancient shores, their achievements would now lie beneath hundreds of feet of water, preserved in the ocean's eternal embrace, but lost to human memory. This creates a haunting possibility that human progress isn't linear, but cyclical, that civilizations have risen and fallen multiple times throughout history, each leaving only fragments and whispers for their successors to puzzle over. The Antikythera Mechanism might not be an anomaly, but a survivor, one of the few artifacts to escape the Great Drowning that claimed its creators and their world. The evidence continues to accumulate in ways that mainstream archaeology struggles to explain. Advanced metallurgy in supposedly primitive societies, astronomical knowledge that requires sophisticated mathematical understanding, construction techniques that we can barely replicate today, let alone explain how they were achieved without modern tools. Each discovery adds another piece to a puzzle that grows more complex rather than clearer with each revelation. Perhaps most unsettling of all is what this means for our understanding of progress itself. We've built our worldview on the assumption that human achievement follows a steady upward trajectory, that we are the culmination of an unbroken chain of advancement stretching back to our earliest ancestors. But what if that's wrong? What if we're not the first civilization to peer into the cosmos with mechanical precision, or to raise monuments that defy conventional explanation? The ocean keeps its secrets well, but it doesn't keep them forever. As our technology advances, and our ability to explore the deep places improves, we may yet discover evidence that will force us to rewrite the entire story of human civilization. Until then, we're left with tantalizing glimpses, a bronze mechanism that shouldn't exist, stone structures that challenge our timelines, and the persistent whisper of ancient voices telling us that the world has been remade before and may be remade again. The deepest mystery isn't what lies beneath the waves, but what it means for everything we thought we knew about ourselves. In the end, the ocean may not just be hiding our past, it may be holding the key to our future, reminding us that human ingenuity and human fragility have always walked hand in hand, and that even our greatest achievements are just one catastrophe away from becoming tomorrow's impossible artifacts. From the wreckage of sunken vessels to the echo of forgotten machines, we've explored mysteries that challenge everything we thought we knew about the sea. Each story reveals the ocean not just as a graveyard of ships, but as a keeper of secrets. Some technological, some ancient, and some that defy explanation entirely. The Antikythera Mechanism reminds us that brilliance can vanish completely, leaving only fragments to puzzle over. Advanced civilizations may have risen and fallen beneath the waves, their achievements swallowed by rising seas and the passage of time. What we've discovered suggests our ancestors were far more sophisticated than we imagined, and that the ocean may hold evidence of knowledge we're only beginning to rediscover. The submarine mysteries show us that even in our modern era of satellites and sonar, vessels can disappear without explanation. Ghost signals continue to pulse from coordinates where no active ships should be. Strange acoustic returns emerge from trenches that may hide more than just geological formations. The deep ocean remains largely unmapped, and what moves within it continues to surprise us. Perhaps most unsettling are the patterns: ships that vanish in specific regions, acoustic anomalies that repeat across decades, and technological signatures that don't match any known civilization. These aren't isolated incidents, but pieces of a larger puzzle that spans millennia. The ocean remembers everything that has ever entered it, but it reveals its secrets slowly, selectively. Each discovery raises more questions than it answers. Each wreck found suggests 10 more that remain hidden. Each signal detected hints at sources we haven't yet learned to recognize. As we develop better technology to explore the deep, we're not just finding what we lost, we're discovering what we never knew existed. The abyss isn't empty. It's full of history, mystery, and perhaps intelligence that operates by rules we don't yet understand. The next time you stand at the ocean's edge, remember that beneath those waves lies more than water and sand. There are machines that still pulse with unknown purpose, structures that predate recorded history, and signals that speak in frequencies we're only learning to hear. The sea keeps its deepest secrets well, but it's starting to whisper. And those who listen closely might just hear something that changes everything we thought we knew about our world, our past, and what else shares this planet with us. The ocean never forgets. It only waits for us to learn the right questions to ask. From the scattered fragments of ancient bronze gears that once calculated celestial movements with impossible precision, we now venture deeper into the labyrinth of maritime mysteries that refuse to surrender their secrets. Because while the Antikythera Mechanism whispers of forgotten brilliance, other discoveries beneath the waves speak of something far more unsettling: civilizations that may have possessed knowledge we're only beginning to rediscover, or perhaps knowledge we've lost entirely. The ocean doesn't simply preserve shipwrecks and ancient devices, it preserves questions. And some of those questions, when examined closely, begin to suggest that our understanding of human technological development may be fundamentally flawed. We've been taught to think of progress as linear, a steady climb from primitive tools to sophisticated machines. But what if that's wrong? What if advanced knowledge has emerged, flourished, and vanished multiple times throughout history, leaving behind only tantalizing fragments for us to puzzle over? Consider this: the Antikythera Mechanism wasn't found in isolation. Across the globe, archaeologists have uncovered artifacts that seem to defy their historical context. Stone carvings that appear to show modern machinery, ancient texts describing technologies that shouldn't have existed, underwater structures so precisely engineered they challenge our assumptions about what ancient peoples could accomplish. Each discovery stands alone, easily dismissed as coincidence or misinterpretation. But together, they form a pattern. The pattern suggests something profound and disturbing, that human civilization may not be experiencing its first technological renaissance, that the sophisticated understanding we see glimpses of in devices like the Antikythera Mechanism may be the remnant of something much larger, something that was lost when the sea levels rose at the end of the last ice age. Think about what we know happened approximately 12,000 years ago. The planet was emerging from the most recent glacial period. Massive ice sheets that had locked up enormous volumes of water began to melt. Sea levels rose dramatically, flooding vast coastal areas where early human settlements would most likely have been established. If advanced civilizations existed during that time, their remains would now lie beneath hundreds of feet of water, scattered across continental shelves that were once dry land. This isn't science fiction, it's geology. We know the flooding happened. We know that human beings were present during this period, and that they were far more sophisticated than we once believed. Archaeological discoveries from sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey have already forced us to reconsider the capabilities of pre-agricultural societies. Göbekli Tepe features precisely carved stone pillars arranged in complex patterns, created by people who supposedly had no permanent settlements, no writing, no advanced tools. Yet, there it stands, older than Stonehenge, older than the pyramids, demanding that we revise our timeline of human achievement. But Göbekli Tepe is on land. It survived. What about the settlements that didn't? What about the coastal cities, the harbour towns, the centres of trade and learning that would have been the first to vanish beneath the rising waters? If the Antikythera Mechanism represents the technological sophistication of its time, and if that time was much earlier than we assumed, then what other marvels might be waiting on the ocean floor? Recent underwater archaeological discoveries suggest this isn't merely speculation. Off the coast of Japan, the Yonaguni Monument presents a series of massive stone structures that appear to be artificially constructed. Stepped pyramids, carved channels, geometric patterns that seem too regular to be natural formations. Mainstream archaeology remains divided on whether Yonaguni represents ancient human construction or unusual geological processes, but the debate itself is significant. We're seriously considering the possibility that sophisticated stone architecture exists in places where it shouldn't, submerged for thousands of years. Similar anomalies appear around the world. Near the coast of India, sonar mapping has revealed what appear to be urban layouts beneath the water, complete with regular street patterns and building foundations. In the Mediterranean, divers have found precisely cut stone blocks in arrangements that suggest deliberate construction, far older than any known civilization in the area. Each discovery is controversial, each explanation disputed, but the accumulating evidence becomes harder to dismiss. And then there are the myths. Every ancient culture has flood stories. The biblical account of Noah, the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh, Hindu tales of Manu, Greek stories of Deucalion, Native American legends of world-destroying deluges. Anthropologists have long noted the prevalence of these narratives, often explaining them as cultural memories of local flooding events or psychological archetypes. But what if they're historical records? What if these stories preserve the memory of actual catastrophic flooding that destroyed advanced civilizations? The flood myths often share specific details that are difficult to explain if they're purely symbolic. They describe not just water, but the loss of knowledge, the death of wise men, the destruction of libraries and centers of learning. They speak of survivors who had to rebuild civilization from scratch, starting over with only fragments of what came before. This sounds remarkably like what we might expect if technological societies were suddenly drowned beneath rising seas. Consider the implications. If advanced civilizations existed before the Great Flooding, then artifacts like the Antikythera Mechanism aren't anomalies, they're survivors. Fragments of a technological tradition that was almost entirely erased by natural catastrophe. The precision of the device, its sophisticated understanding of astronomy and mechanics, would make perfect sense as the product of a culture that had been developing such knowledge for centuries or millennia before the rising waters swept most of it away. This would explain why the Antikythera mechanism seems so isolated in the archaeological record. It's not that ancient Greeks suddenly developed advanced clockwork and then forgot about it. It's that they inherited fragments of much older knowledge that had survived the flooding in limited quantities, preserved by scholars and craftsmen who managed to escape the deluge. The device represents not innovation, but preservation, an attempt to maintain ancient wisdom in a world that had lost most of its technological foundation. The pattern extends beyond individual artifacts. Ancient texts from various cultures describe technologies that seem impossible for their time periods. Sanskrit epics speak of flying vehicles and devastating weapons. Chinese legends describe machines that could navigate by starlight. Egyptian hieroglyphs appear to show devices that resemble modern equipment. Scholars typically interpret these as mythology, symbolic language, or misunderstood natural phenomena. But if advanced technology existed in the distant past, these texts might be historical accounts, rendered in the only language available to preserve them. Even more intriguing are the astronomical alignments found in ancient structures around the world. Stonehenge, the pyramids, Angkor Wat, Machu Picchu, all demonstrate sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics, precisely the kind of knowledge encoded in the Antikythera mechanism. These monuments couldn't have been built without detailed astronomical observation and mathematical calculation. They represent the same intellectual tradition that produced the bronze computer found in that ancient shipwreck. But here's where the mystery deepens. Many of these astronomical alignments point to star positions that existed thousands of years before the monuments were supposedly constructed. The Great Sphinx, for example, appears to align with the constellation Leo as it appeared around 10,500 BCE, not during the conventionally accepted construction date of 2500 BCE. The temples of Angkor Wat mirror the constellation Draco as it appeared around 10,500 BCE. Either these are extraordinary coincidences, or these monuments are much older than we believe, or they were built according to ancient star maps that preserved observations from a much earlier time. The 10,500 BCE date is significant. It corresponds roughly to the end of the last ice age, the period when sea levels were rising and coastal civilizations would have been flooding. If advanced cultures existed at that time, cultures sophisticated enough to make detailed astronomical observations and create precise mechanical devices, then the alignments make sense. The monuments might be memorial markers, built by survivors to preserve the knowledge and achievements of their drowned predecessors. This interpretation would also explain the curious fact that many of the world's most impressive ancient monuments appear very early in their respective cultures' development. The pyramids of Egypt are among the finest ever built, created during the 4th dynasty, when Egyptian civilization was supposedly just emerging from primitive conditions. The stonework at Sacsayhuaman in Peru demonstrates engineering precision that later Incan construction never matched. It's as if these cultures began with their most advanced achievements and then gradually lost the knowledge to create them. Rather than slow technological development, this suggests rapid knowledge transfer from an older source, followed by gradual degradation as the inherited information was imperfectly understood and incompletely transmitted. The Antikythera Mechanism fits this pattern perfectly. It represents knowledge that was being preserved and copied, but perhaps not fully comprehended by the craftsman who made it. The device works, but we don't know if its creators understood all the principles behind its operation, or if they were faithfully reproducing techniques handed down from earlier masters. The implications extend to our understanding of historical progress itself. We're accustomed to thinking of technological advancement as cumulative, with each generation building on the achievements of the previous one. But what if that's not always true? What if knowledge can be lost as well as gained? What if civilizations can rise and fall, taking their discoveries with them, leaving only scattered remnants for later cultures to rediscover? The archaeological record certainly supports this possibility. We know that knowledge was lost during the fall of the Roman Empire, during the collapse of the Maya civilization, during the decline of ancient Egypt. Libraries burned, scholars died, traditions were interrupted. If this can happen to recent civilizations, it certainly could have happened to older ones. And if those older civilizations were more advanced than we realize, then the knowledge lost might have been far more significant than we imagine. This brings us to perhaps the most unsettling question raised by the Antikythera Mechanism and similar anomalous artifacts. If advanced knowledge existed in the ancient past and was subsequently lost, what else might we have forgotten? What other technologies, what other understanding of the natural world, what other ways of organizing society might have vanished beneath the waves along with the cities that developed them? We tend to assume that our current level of technological development represents the pinnacle of human achievement, that we're more advanced than any previous civilization. But what if that's simply because we've forgotten what came before? What if the sophisticated astronomical knowledge preserved in the Antikythera Mechanism represents just a tiny fragment of a much larger body of scientific understanding that was lost when the waters rose? The ocean keeps its secrets well, but occasionally it releases one. The Antikythera Mechanism was such a release, a glimpse into a past that was far more sophisticated than we believed possible. But it also serves as a reminder of how much we don't know, how much might still be hidden beneath the waves, waiting for the right current or the right diver to bring it back to light. And perhaps that's the most important lesson of the Antikythera Mechanism. Not just that ancient peoples were more capable than we assumed, but that our understanding of the past is incomplete, provisional, subject to revision with each new discovery. The bronze gears and astronomical calculations found in that shipwreck don't just tell us about ancient Greek technology. They tell us that we've been underestimating human ingenuity for millennia. The ocean preserved that ancient computer for over 2,000 years, protecting it from the forces that destroy knowledge on land: war, fire, neglect, deliberate destruction. Perhaps other devices, other records, other glimpses into lost civilizations are still down there, waiting in the darkness. The Antikythera Mechanism may not be unique. It may simply be the first of many technological artifacts from a time we thought was primitive, but which may have been as sophisticated as our own. In the end, the mystery of the Antikythera Mechanism isn't just about gears and astronomy. It's about the nature of knowledge itself, how it's created, how it's preserved, how it's lost, and how occasionally it rises from the depths to remind us that the past was not as simple as we believed. The device stands as proof that human brilliance is not a modern invention, that the capacity for innovation and understanding has always existed, waiting for the right circumstances to flourish. And somewhere beneath the waves, in the drowned cities and forgotten harbours of the ancient world, other proofs may be waiting. Other mechanisms, other technologies, other glimpses into the sophisticated civilizations that rose and fell before history began. The ocean holds them all, patient and silent, keeping the secrets of a past that was far stranger and more advanced than we ever dared imagine. From the scattered hulks of ancient bronze computers resting beneath Mediterranean waves, where forgotten gears once whispered the secrets of celestial motion, we now descend deeper into mysteries that challenge everything we thought we knew about our planet's hidden history. Because the ocean doesn't just preserve wrecks and artifacts, it preserves secrets. Secrets that governments classify, that researchers whisper about in back rooms, that survivors refuse to discuss even decades later. What we've uncovered so far has been extraordinary. Ships frozen in time, technology millennia ahead of its supposed era, vessels that appear and vanish like phantoms across the centuries. But these are merely the surface ripples of something far more profound. Something that suggests our understanding of human civilization, of what lies beneath the waves, and of what we're truly sharing this planet with, may be fundamentally incomplete. The stories that follow don't just challenge maritime history, they challenge reality itself. Because when you start peeling back the layers of official silence, when you begin connecting the dots between classified incidents and unexplained phenomena, a pattern emerges. Not random accidents or isolated mysteries, but something coordinated, something watching, something that has been here far longer than we have. These aren't just ghost ships anymore. These are glimpses into a hidden world that exists parallel to our own, where the rules of physics bend, where time moves differently, and where the ocean itself seems to be alive and listening. What you're about to hear was never meant to surface. It's been buried beneath layers of classification, denial, and deliberate misdirection for decades. But the truth has a way of floating to the surface, no matter how deep you try to bury it. And once you've seen it, once you've understood what's really happening in the deepest parts of our world, you'll never look at the ocean the same way again. The evidence is scattered across decades of suppressed reports, leaked documents, and testimony from sources who've risked everything to speak out. Naval officers who've seen things that officially never happened. Researchers whose data mysteriously vanished. Entire expeditions that returned with stories too dangerous to tell. What emerges is a picture of the ocean not as humanity's final frontier, but as someone else's domain. A realm where ancient technologies still function, where intelligences older than human civilization continue their patient work, and where the line between the possible and the impossible dissolves like salt in water. Each incident we'll explore represents a crack in the official narrative, a moment when the veil slipped and something extraordinary broke through. From underwater cities that appear on sonar only to vanish before investigation teams arrive, to submarines that encounter structures that shouldn't exist, to signals emanating from depths that challenge our understanding of what lives in the abyss. The pattern is clear to those willing to see it. We are not alone in the ocean's depths. We never have been. And whatever shares those dark waters with us has been watching, learning, and perhaps preparing for something that's been centuries in the making. The ocean covers more than 70% of our planet's surface, yet we've explored less than 5% of it. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the deepest trenches of our own world. And perhaps that ignorance isn't accidental. Perhaps it's been carefully maintained. Because in those unexplored depths, in the crushing darkness where no sunlight has ever penetrated, things move that were never meant to be found. Cities rest that predate human civilization. Technologies function that operate on principles we don't understand. And somewhere in that vast hidden realm, ancient powers stir with purposes we can't begin to comprehend. The time for secrets is ending. The truth is rising to the surface, whether the powers that be want it to or not. And what it reveals about our world, our history, and our future will change everything we thought we knew about life on Earth. Welcome to the deep's darkest secrets. Welcome to the truth they never wanted you to discover. Welcome to the realization that the ocean isn't just Earth's final frontier. It's someone else's ancient home, and we've been sharing it with them all along. The evidence is overwhelming once you know how to look for it. The question isn't whether something extraordinary exists in our ocean's depths. The question is whether humanity is ready to face what we'll find when we finally shine a light into the abyss. Because the abyss, as they say, gazes also into us. And what's been gazing back from those depths has been patient, watching, and waiting for far longer than we can imagine. Beneath the waves, where light fades to black and pressure builds beyond human comprehension, the ocean has been collecting secrets for millennia. Ships that vanished without trace, submarines that disappeared into silence, entire civilizations swallowed by rising seas. We've explored only 5% of our oceans, yet what we've found challenges everything we thought we knew about human history, technology, and the very nature of what's possible. The deepest mysteries aren't always found in the deepest trenches. Sometimes they rest in shallow waters, preserved by salt and time. Sometimes they wash ashore when we least expect them. And sometimes they're still down there, waiting, watching, listening to our feeble attempts to understand what we're not meant to know. From ancient computers, more sophisticated than anything built for the next 1,000 years, to submarines that return from missions they were never sent on, to ships that sail crewed by the dead, the ocean's archives tell a different story than the one in our history books. They whisper of knowledge lost, of civilizations erased, of technologies that existed long before they should have been possible. What you're about to hear represents decades of research, classified documents, and testimonies from those who've seen things they were never supposed to see. These aren't fairy tales or folklore. These are documented cases, recorded encounters, and physical evidence that suggests our understanding of the past, and perhaps the present, is incomplete. The ocean remembers everything. Every ship that's ever sailed, every city that's ever sunk, every secret that's ever been buried beneath the waves. And sometimes, just sometimes, it gives a few of those secrets back. But be warned, some knowledge comes with a price. Some mysteries are better left unsolved, and some depths are better left unexplored, because once you know what's really down there, you can never look at the ocean the same way again. The ancient Greeks had a word for the deepest part of the underworld: the abyss. They believed it was where the most terrible secrets were kept, where the things too dangerous for the world above were imprisoned forever. They were closer to the truth than they knew. The abyss isn't below the earth, it's below the waves, and it's been keeping our secrets for us whether we asked it to or not. What lies beneath isn't just water and sand and forgotten wrecks, it's memory, it's evidence, it's proof that the story we tell ourselves about human civilization, about our capabilities, about our past, is just that, a story. The real history is written in salt water and rust, in bronze gears that shouldn't exist, and stone circles that predate everything we thought we knew. It's encoded in the hull plates of ships that were never built, and the sonar signatures of objects that move through water in ways that defy physics. We are not the first to sail these seas. We are not the first to build machines that think. We are not the first to reach across the depths and find something reaching back. The ocean has been our teacher, our graveyard, and our keeper of secrets since the first human looked across the water and wondered what lay beyond the horizon. Now, after thousands of years of taking from the sea, it's time to listen to what it's been trying to tell us. These are the stories the ocean wants us to hear, the ones it's been saving for when we were finally ready to listen, the ones that explain why sometimes, in the deepest hours of the night, when the waves are still and the air is calm, you can hear something calling from beneath the surface. It's not the wind, it's not the tide, it's the voices of everyone who ever sailed into mystery and found something that changed everything they thought they knew about the world. The ocean is calling. It has been for a very long time. The question is, are you ready to answer? Because once you dive this deep, once you see what's really down there, there's no coming back to the surface unchanged. The abyss doesn't just stare back into you. It shows you things that were never meant to be seen by human eyes, things that prove we are not alone. We have never been alone, and the deepest waters of our world are not empty. They're full of memory, full of mystery, and full of answers to questions we never knew we should be asking. As we piece together these underwater mysteries and ancient technologies, we begin to see a pattern emerging from the depths of both ocean and time. The Antikythera Mechanism stands not as an isolated anomaly, but as a testament to a lost golden age of human achievement. Its bronze gears whisper of mathematical precision and astronomical knowledge that supposedly wouldn't resurface for another 1,000 years. Yet there it was, resting on the Mediterranean seafloor, waiting to shatter our preconceptions about ancient capabilities. The submerged structures scattered across our planet's ocean floors tell a similar story of advanced civilizations that once flourished above the waves. From the controversial stepped formations of Yonaguni to the mysterious ruins off the coasts of India, Lebanon, and Cuba, these underwater archaeological sites suggest that our ancestors built with purpose, precision, and knowledge that we are only beginning to comprehend. The megalithic blocks, precisely cut and arranged, speak of engineering capabilities that challenge our understanding of ancient technology. What makes these discoveries even more compelling is their global distribution. This isn't a story confined to one region or culture. From the Mediterranean to the Pacific, from the Atlantic to the Indian Ocean, evidence of advanced pre-flood civilizations emerges wherever researchers dare to look beneath the waves. The consistency of these findings across such vast distances suggests we're not dealing with coincidence, but with the remnants of a worldwide phenomenon that has been systematically erased from our historical record. The flood myths that permeate virtually every culture on Earth suddenly take on new significance when viewed through this lens. These aren't merely symbolic stories or moral teachings passed down through generations. They represent the collective memory of humanity's greatest catastrophe, preserved in the only way our ancestors could ensure their survival through the ages. The striking similarities between flood narratives from cultures that supposedly never interacted reveal a shared traumatic experience that reset human civilization at its peak. Consider the implications of this reset. If advanced civilizations were indeed thriving before the great melt that ended the last ice age, then human progress has been anything but linear. We haven't been steadily climbing toward greater technological achievement. Instead, we've been struggling to reclaim knowledge and capabilities that were once commonplace. The sophisticated astronomical calculations embedded in the Antikythera Mechanism suggest that ancient peoples possessed mathematical and scientific understanding that we've only recently rediscovered. This cyclical view of human development explains many of the anomalies that mainstream archaeology struggles to address. How did ancient peoples move massive stone blocks with such precision? How did they possess knowledge of celestial mechanics that wouldn't be formally rediscovered until the Renaissance? How did they navigate vast oceans and establish global trade networks without the technology we consider essential for such endeavors? The answer may be that they inherited fragments of knowledge from even earlier civilizations, passed down through generations like precious heirlooms. The ocean, in this context, becomes more than just a repository of sunken ships and lost cities. It becomes a vast library of human achievement, its depths holding the scattered pages of our species' greatest chapter. Every artifact pulled from the seafloor, every structure discovered beneath the waves, represents a piece of this lost narrative. The bronze gears of the Antikythera Mechanism are just the beginning. Imagine what other technological marvels lie buried beneath millennia of sediment, waiting for the right moment to resurface and revolutionize our understanding of the past. But our exploration of oceanic mysteries extends beyond ancient artifacts and submerged ruins. The modern phenomena we've examined, the unexplained disappearances and classified underwater encounters, suggest that the ocean continues to guard secrets that powerful forces prefer to keep hidden. The pattern of ships vanishing without explanation, often in areas where ancient structures have been reported, hints at connections between past and present that we're only beginning to understand. The military's intense interest in certain underwater regions, combined with the classification of numerous oceanic discoveries, reveals that government agencies recognize the significance of what lies beneath the waves. When naval operations are conducted in secrecy around sites of archaeological importance, when researchers are denied access to areas of historical significance, when evidence disappears from public view, we must ask ourselves what truth is being concealed and why. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of these oceanic enigmas is their interconnectedness. The same waters that hold ancient technologies also witness modern mysteries. The same depths that preserve evidence of advanced pre-flood civilizations also harbor phenomena that defy conventional explanation. This suggests that the ocean's role as keeper of secrets spans far beyond any single historical period. The technological sophistication required to create something like the Antikythera Mechanism implies the existence of a broader scientific infrastructure. You don't develop precision gear-cutting techniques and complex astronomical calculations in isolation. Such achievements require accumulated knowledge, specialized tools, educational systems, and collaborative networks of scholars and craftsmen. The mechanism represents the tip of an iceberg, the visible remnant of a vast body of knowledge that once existed above the waves. When we consider the rapid rise in sea levels that occurred at the end of the last ice age, the scale of potential loss becomes staggering. Coastal regions, where civilizations naturally tend to concentrate due to trade advantages and resource access, would have been completely inundated. Entire cities, libraries, workshops, and centers of learning would have vanished beneath hundreds of feet of water. The survivors, scattered and struggling to rebuild, would have preserved only fragments of their former knowledge. This perspective transforms our understanding of human history from a story of gradual progress to one of recovery and rediscovery. The great achievements of classical antiquity, the mathematical insights of ancient Greece, the engineering marvels of Rome, the astronomical knowledge of Maya and Babylonian civilizations, all may represent humanity's attempt to reclaim capabilities that were once taken for granted. The global nature of flood myths takes on even greater significance when we consider that these stories often include specific details about the preservation of knowledge. The biblical account of Noah, preserving not just animal life, but the means to rebuild civilization. The Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh describing the salvation of wisdom along with humanity. Hindu traditions speaking of the preservation of sacred knowledge through cosmic cycles of destruction and renewal. These narratives suggest that our ancestors understood the cyclical nature of civilizational collapse and made deliberate efforts to preserve essential knowledge through catastrophic periods. The Antikythera Mechanism itself may represent one such effort at preservation. Its compact design, incorporating vast amounts of astronomical data into a relatively small device, suggests it was created not just for practical use, but as a means of preserving crucial knowledge in a form that could survive disaster. The fact that it ended up on the ocean floor, rather than being lost to decay or destruction on land, may have been the very thing that allowed it to survive until our modern age could recognize its significance. As we look toward the future of oceanic exploration, new technologies promise to unlock even more secrets from the depths. Advanced sonar systems, deep-sea robotics, and underwater archaeology techniques are revealing previously inaccessible areas of the ocean floor. Each new expedition brings the possibility of discoveries that could fundamentally alter our understanding of human history. The question isn't whether more evidence exists, but whether we'll be allowed to access it and share it with the world. The classification of oceanic discoveries by military and government agencies suggests that some findings are considered too sensitive for public knowledge. This raises profound questions about the nature of what lies beneath the waves, and why certain truths about our past are deemed dangerous to reveal. Are we being protected from knowledge that could destabilize our current understanding of reality? Or are we being denied access to discoveries that could accelerate human progress by revealing forgotten technologies and scientific principles? The pattern of secrecy surrounding oceanic mysteries mirrors the ancient practice of restricting certain knowledge to initiated elites. Just as the creators of the Antikythera Mechanism possessed scientific understanding that was apparently not widely shared in their time, modern discoveries beneath the waves seem to be accessible only to those with appropriate clearance levels. This suggests that the ocean's role as a keeper of secrets continues to influence human affairs in ways we're only beginning to comprehend. The psychological impact of these revelations cannot be understated. If humanity has indeed risen to great heights before, only to be cast down by natural catastrophe, then our current technological civilization exists in a much more precarious position than we typically acknowledge. The same forces that once drowned advanced cities beneath rising seas could act again. The same cosmic cycles that our ancestors encoded in bronze mechanisms continue to turn, bringing both opportunities and threats that we may not be adequately prepared to face. Yet there's also profound hope in these underwater mysteries. If human beings once possessed the knowledge to create devices like the Antikythera Mechanism, to build structures that have survived millennia beneath the waves, to develop global navigation and communication networks without modern technology, then we carry within our species the potential for even greater achievements. The lost knowledge preserved in oceanic depths isn't just a record of past glory, it's a blueprint for future possibilities. The flood myths that permeate human culture don't just describe destruction, they also promise renewal. After the waters recede, life begins again. Knowledge that seemed lost re-emerges. Civilizations that appeared destroyed rise from the depths of despair to reach new heights of achievement. This cyclical understanding of human development suggests that we're currently in a phase of rediscovery, reclaiming capabilities that were once natural to our species. Modern quantum physics, advanced materials science, and computer technology may be leading us back to principles that ancient civilizations understood through different means. The precision of the Antikythera Mechanism's gear ratios demonstrates mathematical sophistication that parallels our current understanding of celestial mechanics. The engineering required to construct the massive underwater structures discovered around the world suggests mastery of principles we're only now beginning to rediscover through modern physics and materials science. As we stand at this threshold between rediscovery and new discovery, the ocean continues to call to us with its ancient secrets. Every dive into the depths brings the possibility of finding another piece of the puzzle, another fragment of lost knowledge, another clue to humanity's true potential. The bronze gears of the Antikythera Mechanism have already shown us that our ancestors were capable of achievements we never imagined. What other marvels wait beneath the waves, ready to revolutionize our understanding of what it means to be human. The biggest historical, unsolved enigmas aren't just academic curiosities or fodder for documentaries. They represent missing pieces of our identity as a species. The advanced civilizations that once thrived above the waves weren't populated by a different kind of human being. They were our direct ancestors, possessed of the same fundamental capabilities that we carry within us today. Their achievements, preserved in the ocean's depths, remind us that human potential extends far beyond the limitations we typically accept. In the end, the ocean holds more than just water and salt. It holds memory, knowledge, and the scattered remnants of humanity's greatest achievements. The Antikythera Mechanism, with its bronze gears still turning in researchers' minds centuries after its creation, stands as proof that the past was far more sophisticated than we've been taught to believe. The submerged cities and mysterious structures scattered across the ocean floor await our exploration, ready to reveal secrets that could transform our understanding of human history and potential. As we continue to probe the depths, both literally and figuratively, we edge closer to recovering our species' lost heritage. The flood myths that once seemed like primitive superstition now guide us toward the most important archaeological discoveries of our time. The classified military operations that once seemed like paranoid secrecy now appear as evidence that we're on the verge of revelations that could change everything. The ocean keeps its secrets well, but it doesn't keep them forever. Each tide brings new possibilities. Each expedition into the depths carries the potential for discoveries that will force us to rewrite the textbooks and reconsider everything we thought we knew about human civilization. The Antikythera Mechanism was just the beginning. The greatest discoveries still lie ahead, waiting beneath the waves for the moment when humanity is ready to reclaim its birthright and remember what it once knew. As we stand at the threshold of the 21st century, armed with technologies that would seem miraculous to our recent ancestors, we find ourselves confronting a humbling reality. The ocean depths continue to yield discoveries that challenge our most fundamental assumptions about human history, technological development, and the very nature of civilization itself. Each new underwater excavation, each sonar anomaly detected in the abyssal plains, each ancient artifact pulled from the seafloor adds another piece to a puzzle that grows more complex rather than clearer with each revelation. The implications of what we have explored extend far beyond academic curiosity or archaeological interest. If the Antikythera Mechanism represents not an isolated example of ancient ingenuity, but rather a surviving fragment of a broader technological tradition, then our entire understanding of human progress must be reconsidered. The linear narrative of advancement from primitive to sophisticated, from stone tools to space travel, begins to fracture when confronted with evidence of mechanical computers crafted 2 millennia ago with precision that rivals modern manufacturing. Consider the profound implications of the submerged structures we have examined. The Yonaguni Monument, whether natural formation enhanced by human hands or entirely artificial construction, speaks to capabilities that should not have existed in the conventional timeline of human development. The geometric precision of its steps, the apparent tool marks on its surfaces, the deliberate angles and platforms all suggest a level of planning and execution that challenges our understanding of what ancient civilizations could achieve. When we multiply this by the dozens of similar structures found in waters around the globe, from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean, from the Indian Ocean to the coasts of Japan, we begin to see not isolated anomalies, but potential evidence of a lost chapter in human history. The flood myths that permeate virtually every culture on Earth take on new significance when viewed through this lens. These are not merely stories passed down through generations, growing more fantastical with each telling. They may be the collective memory of humanity itself, preserving the trauma of a global catastrophe that reset civilization and drove the survivors to higher ground. leaving behind the remnants of their achievements to be claimed by rising seas. The consistency of these accounts across cultures that had no contact with each other suggests a shared experience so profound that it became embedded in our species' collective consciousness. This possibility forces us to reconsider the very nature of human progress. Perhaps advancement is not the steady climb we imagine, but rather a series of peaks and valleys, achievements and catastrophes, discoveries and rediscoveries. The technologies we pride ourselves on developing may have been known to our ancestors, lost to time and disaster, only to be painstakingly reconstructed by subsequent generations who had forgotten their own heritage. The ancient texts that speak of flying machines, powerful weapons, and advanced mathematics may not be mythology, but historical records of capabilities that once existed and were lost. The underwater archaeological discoveries we have examined represent more than historical curiosities. They are potential keys to unlocking human potential that we have forgotten we possess. The precision of ancient stonework, the sophistication of hydraulic systems, the mathematical knowledge encoded in monuments and artifacts, all point to capabilities that we are only beginning to understand. If these achievements were possible with the tools and knowledge available to ancient peoples, what might we accomplish if we could recover and build upon their foundations? The military and governmental interest in these underwater anomalies adds another layer of complexity to our investigation. The classified nature of many deep-sea discoveries, the restricted access to certain underwater sites, the sudden cessation of research in areas where significant findings have been reported, all suggest that there are aspects of these mysteries that those in power believe have implications beyond historical interest. Whether these concerns relate to national security, technological advantage, or something more fundamental about the nature of human civilization, the secrecy surrounding these discoveries only deepens the mystery. The technological paradox we face is particularly intriguing. Our most advanced sonar systems, our deepest diving submersibles, our most sophisticated archaeological techniques all serve to reveal evidence of achievements that should not have been possible with the technology available to their creators. This suggests either that our understanding of ancient capabilities is fundamentally flawed, or that there are aspects of human knowledge and ability that we have lost and are only now beginning to rediscover. The ocean itself becomes a character in this narrative, not merely a passive repository of artifacts, but an active participant in the preservation and revelation of human history. The same waters that may have claimed advanced civilizations 12,000 years ago now guard their secrets, releasing them only gradually as our own capabilities advance sufficiently to explore the depths. The timing of these discoveries, coinciding with our own technological renaissance, raises questions about whether this is mere coincidence or part of a larger pattern of cyclical rediscovery. The psychological impact of these revelations cannot be understated. To confront the possibility that we are not the first human civilization to achieve advanced technological capabilities, that our proudest achievements may be rediscoveries rather than innovations, challenges our sense of progress and uniqueness. Yet this challenge also offers profound opportunities. If ancient civilizations achieved remarkable things with limited resources, what might we accomplish by combining their knowledge with our own capabilities? The evidence suggests that we are living through a moment of convergence, where our technological capabilities are finally advanced enough to explore the depths where the answers to these mysteries lie hidden. The development of autonomous underwater vehicles, advanced imaging systems, and deep-sea excavation techniques coincides with a growing awareness that conventional historical narratives may be incomplete. This convergence suggests that we may be on the verge of discoveries that will fundamentally alter our understanding of human history and potential. The recurring themes we have explored point to a hidden history that is both more complex and more remarkable than the simplified narratives we have accepted. The sophistication of ancient engineering, the global nature of flood traditions, the precision of astronomical knowledge encoded in monuments and artifacts, the advanced metallurgy and craftsmanship evidenced in surviving relics, all suggest capabilities that we are only beginning to appreciate. These achievements become even more remarkable when we consider that they may have been accomplished by civilizations that also faced and ultimately succumbed to the same types of challenges we face today. The preservation of knowledge across catastrophic events becomes a crucial theme in understanding these mysteries. The encoding of information in stone monuments, the embedding of mathematical principles in architectural structures, the preservation of technical knowledge in religious and mythological narratives all suggest that ancient peoples understood the fragility of civilization and took deliberate steps to preserve essential knowledge for future generations. We may be those future generations, finally developing the tools and perspective necessary to decode the messages left for us. The investigation of these underwater mysteries also reveals the limitations of our current archaeological and historical methodologies. Traditional approaches, based on land-based excavations and conventional timelines, may be inadequate for understanding civilizations that were primarily coastal and have since been claimed by the sea. New approaches, combining underwater archaeology with advanced imaging and analysis techniques, may be necessary to unlock the secrets that lie beneath the waves. The global nature of these discoveries suggests that we are not dealing with isolated phenomena, but with evidence of a worldwide civilization or network of civilizations that possessed capabilities we are only beginning to understand. The similarities in construction techniques, the consistency of flood narratives, the parallel development of astronomical knowledge, all point to connections and communications that should not have been possible given our current understanding of ancient transportation and communication capabilities. As we conclude this exploration of history's greatest underwater mysteries, we are left not with answers, but with a profound sense of how much we still do not know. The ocean depths continue to guard secrets that could revolutionize our understanding of human potential, technological development, and the very nature of civilization itself. Each new discovery raises more questions than it answers. Each answered question reveals new depths of mystery. The greatest enigma may not be any single artifact or structure, but rather the pattern they collectively reveal. A pattern of achievement, catastrophe, and rediscovery that suggests human civilization is far more resilient and capable than we have imagined. The knowledge and capabilities we pride ourselves on developing may be part of a cycle of rediscovery that has been repeated multiple times throughout human history. The ocean, covering more than 70% of our planet's surface, remains largely unexplored. Less than 20% of the seafloor has been mapped with the same resolution we have achieved for the surface of Mars. In those unmapped depths, in the trenches and abyssal plains we have yet to explore, may lie the answers to questions we are only beginning to formulate. The greatest discoveries may still lie ahead, waiting in the darkness of the deep sea for the moment when humanity is ready to confront the full scope of its own history and potential. As we stand at the threshold of unprecedented technological advancement, these oceanic mysteries force us to confront an uncomfortable truth about our place in history. The linear progression we've been taught, from primitive hunter-gatherers to modern civilization, may be nothing more than a convenient oversimplification. The evidence scattered across our ocean floors suggests something far more complex and humbling. Every year, new discoveries emerge from the depths, each one challenging our fundamental assumptions about human capability and timeline. The Antikythera Mechanism alone demonstrates that our ancestors possessed knowledge we're only now beginning to understand. When we consider this alongside the massive structures found off coastlines worldwide, we must ask ourselves, what other revolutionary technologies, lie waiting in the abyss. The flood myths that permeate every culture on Earth cannot be dismissed as mere folklore. They represent humanity's collective memory of catastrophic events that reshaped our world and erased entire civilizations. These stories, passed down through generations, may be our only remaining connection to lost ages of human achievement. They remind us that progress is not guaranteed, and that even the most advanced societies can vanish beneath the waves. Perhaps most intriguingly, these discoveries suggest that human development follows cyclical patterns rather than linear progression. Civilizations rise, flourish, and fall, taking their knowledge with them into the depths. We may not be the first technologically advanced society to inhabit this planet, and we certainly won't be the last. The ocean preserves what land cannot, creating an underwater museum of human ambition and ingenuity. The implications extend beyond archaeology and history. If advanced civilizations existed tens of thousands of years ago, what drove them to extinction? Climate change, warfare, or perhaps something more mysterious? Understanding these ancient disasters might provide crucial insights for our own survival. As we continue to explore our planet's underwater realms, we must remain open to paradigm-shifting discoveries. The technologies that allowed our ancestors to construct massive megalithic structures and create precision instruments might hold keys to solving modern challenges. The ocean depths may contain not just artifacts, but blueprints for sustainable energy, advanced materials, or revolutionary engineering techniques. The greatest historical enigmas often hide in plain sight, waiting beneath miles of water and millennia of sediment. Until we commit to serious, systematic exploration of our ocean floors, we'll remain strangers to our own past. The secrets of human civilization rest not in dusty archives or museum displays, but in the dark, mysterious depths that cover 70% of our planet. Our history is far stranger and more magnificent than we ever imagined.